Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to this talk and getting involved with the Product Marketing Festival. We hope you've been enjoying the stages and the talks so far, and you're in for another good one right here. But before we kick things off, we just wanted to say a quick thanks to everyone who's helped make this festival happen. Sponsors, partners, attendees and speakers. Shameless but obligatory plug, and in case you missed it, we recently launched our very own product marketing certification. If you haven't already, check it out. Enjoy this session.
Monday.com is the project management platform my team and I use to keep our work moving forward, anywhere, anytime. Monday.com gives us a clear picture of who's working on what and where it all stands. And when we mark something done, there's a sense of real progress. Plus, we can share files and keep each other updated, all in one place. So, if you want to get more done with your team, go to Monday.com and start your free trial today.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. First off, happy Wednesday. It is a pleasure to be here, albeit online, with the global product marketing community at this year's Product Marketing Festival. And I'm excited to use this time to really talk about one of my favorite topics, which is building world-class go-to-market teams that live at the middle of your organizations. And so we're going to be using today to dive into the launch process, the different types of product marketers, personas, if you will, and the general playbook that we've used at G2 to build an award-winning GTM function. And so for a look at today's agenda, really quickly, I'll go ahead and introduce myself, and then we'll do an overview of what life looks like at the middle of product marketing and sales for the modern product marketer, which I'm sure a lot of you are today. And then we'll dive into G2's go-to-market blueprint, which encompasses everything that I just mentioned, our hiring process, our go-to-market process, and even the way that we report on success, all so that you can build a world-class go-to-market team as well. And then we'll finish with some time for questions. I see here on the right of my screen, we have a bit of a chat function, so feel free to put those in as you'd like, and I'll just keep an eye on those throughout the session. And so with that, let's get started. So first, a little bit about me. My name is Yoni, and I run product marketing and go-to-market at G2. And for a little on us, we're the world's largest marketplace for B2B technology. And before coming to G2, I've spent nearly a decade in B2B software for some of Chicago's top software companies. And when I'm not doing product marketing, I love writing about it in Forbes. I love talking about it in other publications. And my team at G2 was actually the winner of the PMA's Team of the Year last year as well. And I was lucky enough to make the top 50 product marketing influencers list too. But basically what my team and I do all the live long day is live at the middle of G2's product, marketing and sales organizations in something that we like to call the intersection. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. So this should look familiar to a lot of folks who are living and breathing product marketing every day. It is our job as product marketers to essentially bring it all together, right? We live at the intersection of product marketing and sales, but that said, we're not quite product, we're not quite sales, and we're honestly not quite traditional marketing, digital or demand gen either, right? Not in that traditional sense of the word. But ultimately, what we help drive value for when we work for organizations is we align with all three of those functions to ensure that, one, product is building the capabilities that are aligned to the real pains and problems that people are feeling in the market. Two, we help ensure that marketing has the context and then the messaging that they need to drive campaigns that essentially drive demand. And three, we then work with sales and with CS, really account management, to ensure that they have the context, the pricing, the resources and the tools that they need to actually sell those products and capabilities in. And it's not easy, right? Life at the intersection can take a toll, which is why success in product marketing starts and ends with having a strong and versatile team with a diverse set of skills and expertise and natural leanings that we're going to talk a lot about today. Along with having a strong team, I think one of the most important things that we can establish is building a really strong playbook for launching products and capabilities, one that's consistently managed and run from end to end. And also one that everyone at the intersection of product marketing and sales are completely bought into, so that everybody across your organization knows exactly what they need to do and when they need to do it to ensure a successful GTM. But when it all works, all of that rigor and process can make a world of difference. And I think hopefully we can all see the image here, but this was actually our PMA Team of the Year award that's blacked out on the screen. But it can not only make a world of difference to your organization in terms of driving results, but it can actually help you launch faster. We found last year, for instance, that we as a team of 3 went to market with an average of 1 go-to-market per year. That was 2 M&As, products, features, integrations in our last fiscal year. It also helps you train and enable more and consistently and comprehensively. So all in all, we averaged about a 95% certification completion on all certifiable go-to-market activities last year and this year for that matter too. We're tracking really well against that. And that's also greatly reduced the time to first closed won for whatever it is that our teams are launching. And then finally, and this gets me really excited, when done right, great product marketing can utterly transform your business and results. And so, for some perspective on last year, which was our first year together as a team, we crushed our top line leads goal by about 400%. All in all, that made up about 20% of marketing's overall pipeline influence. And then we dug a little bit deeper and analyzed the deals that we were influencing. And from those deals, opportunities that just had one G2 touch point with a webinar that we were running or a thought leadership piece that we had delivered or landing pages and campaigns for products that we had launched, we found that those deals were about 40% larger, 37 to 40% larger on average, and actually twice as likely to get to closed won than the G2 average. And all in all, this resulted in several $1 million in revenue influence per head in product marketing, which is just fantastic. It's exciting, right? But there's a lot that goes into building that machine to make sure that it can function in that way. And so now that we've done a quick overview on what life at the intersection is like, at least from my perspective at G2, let's talk about how we actually built and in many ways are still building and refining and enhancing that GTM engine at G2. So I feel like I wouldn't be a product marketer if I didn't try to put everything into value pillars constantly. I prefer everything in 3s. And so here are the 3 value pillars for G2's product marketing function. It starts, of course, with hiring the right team. And remember, no 2 product marketers are the same. And we're about to go into some real detail on that. We then in pillar 2 enforce a uniform process and consistency from launch to launch so that everybody knows what to expect. And then we end, no pun intended, with end-to-end business outcome tracking that spans the entirety of our funnel and also helps drive those much needed metrics for our friends within product, marketing, and sales as well. And so with that, let's first talk about team building. I think this is really interesting because with product marketing being generally less known or a less recognized function as a whole, especially when compared to brand, content, or demand gen. And I think I saw from some data come out from the PMA just yesterday that only 5% of product marketers really feel like their organizations know what they do. And so as a result, one of those common misconceptions that we have with the role is that it's a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. And after several years in the function myself, both as a team manager and as a launcher, I gotta disagree. In fact, in my experience, I've actually come across 5 different types of product marketers that I'd like for all of you to be aware of and introduce you to today. And by the way, this persona blueprint helped me build my own team at G2. And so every single persona that you're going to see here is actually represented on our product marketing team today. And so with that, let's go through them. First up is the storyteller. This product marketer truly understands our buyers and their problems and can articulate these problems in just a magical way that resonates. And they do this in the form of killer foundational messaging and positioning and can really crush deep persona work. That foundational messaging, or G2, what we call message houses, are the source for all marketing materials that follow. So this is going to inform your landing pages. This is going to inform your emails, your press releases, and everything else. And so having a product marketer that's truly best in class at writing value messaging and causing customers to care and share and convert in those stories is hugely successful is hugely important when launching successful GTM campaigns. All right, up next is my personal favorite and should need no introduction is the performer, represented by Freddie Mercury. And the core skill that they bring to the table, well, these are going to be your experts in-person enablers of the capabilities and the tools and the stories really that you're rolling out to your teams. They just get it. They're these expert storytellers who understand the ways and the nuances of connecting with your people-facing teams in sales and CS. They just understand how they learn. And not only that, but they understand how to get those teams really excited, and they deliver fun trainings that are retained in memory and then used on the front lines. They inspire through their energy and through their craft, enthusiasm and product market confidence from the sales org, which is why some really interesting success indicators for this persona in particular is going to be some stuff that they work alongside by side with sales enablement. So that's going to be measuring time to first deal, or deal velocity, if you will. And I think for the candidates for this role, some of the best folks that I've ever come across are actually candidates that don't come from a traditional product marketing or marketing background. I, for instance, definitely have a performer in my team, and when she's not a G2 launching the heck out of products, she's actually one of Chicago's most well-known wedding singers. She fronts a really successful wedding band here in Chicago and is just a natural performer in that regard. Up next is a face that everybody should know. He might just be the most famous product marketer of all time, and it's Steve Jobs. But the persona that he represents is the evangelist. This is your ultimate product expert. And I founded organizations that these are the team members who've typically been there the longest. Maybe they started in CS and just understood the product and the customers really well, and they just naturally moved into product marketing. And because they know the nooks and crannies, right, the ins and outs of everything that you're doing, they write incredible user guides and FAQs. Their objections handling work is outstanding. And because they're so close to the product, they're actually in a really ideal position to understand how to manage KPIs around product launch satisfaction, capturing feedback on releases, and even managing your beta groups. Up next, I think, is my fiance's favorite persona of the bunch. So please meet the strategist. And really, to ensure that we have a successful GTM launch, we're all going to need one of these at the least. These personas are experts in bringing those GTM concepts that we see in message houses to life. They can just look at a message house and they can, in the moment, conceptualize how to introduce that new value story to the world. They're experts in terms of execution. They truly shine when they bring those creative campaigns and those defined segments and those workflows to the table. And they know how all three of those things work well enough to work very closely with your ops and demand gen team to actually get these things launched. So that's why a focus on pipeline creation is an influence really is a very interesting KPI for this type of persona. And when you're looking for this type of product marketer, look for folks with a background in growth or project management or ops. Maybe even early in their career, they worked at an agency or had implemented a marketing automation tool. So they just have an understanding of how this stuff works. But whatever background it is, these are the folks that have the expertise that you'll need to bridge the gap between product marketing and messaging, if you will, to go to market, to ensure that these campaigns are brought to life effectively. And then finally, I think this one's my personal favorite. I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, but meet the playmaker. This is one of the hardest product marketing personas to come across, but it's a really critical one to have nonetheless. And similar to MJ, you can just give these product marketers the ball and just get the heck out of the way, and they're going to find the revenue and the attribution that you need. For whatever reason, these product marketers are exceptionally and naturally close to the sales organization. Perhaps they're former SDRs, maybe former revenue ops or enablement pros who have since moved over to product marketing. But ultimately, what they understand best is how your sales cycle operates, where the opportunities for revenue lie, and even when the best time to launch products is. And they're amazing partners and collaborators with sales. And so ultimately, we benchmark these personas against things like closed won that spans new business, renewal, and upsell. And they're great, by the way, for leading won-loss analysis along with your product managers. And now, granted, if you have a good, solid product marketing team, they should hopefully be able to play in all of these areas and do them pretty well. But that said, by having a versatile team of folks who just kind of balance each other out, like maybe they're best in class in 2 to 3 of these areas, and in others, they're still developing. But as a result, the other folks who sort of have those strengths that your other product marketers may not have, they all balance each other out really well. And it creates an environment where no one's skills are duplicative, and they can help up-level each other and take value stories from one side and really take those value stories and capabilities and run all the way through the end with them, which ultimately ends in revenue and adoption and satisfaction and a whole ton of joy for your teams. Up next, let's talk pillar number 2. which is enforcing a uniform and consistent GTM process for launches. And this is, of course, for the sake of keeping our go-to-market activities as unchaotic and ultimately as successful as possible. That's really important. And so along with hiring and building out the team, this was the very first thing that I implemented at G2 when I joined the org about 1.5 years ago. And so here's a look at our go-to-market playbook in really 5 easy stages. It's worked so well for us that we've actually taken it and published it on our learn.g2.com site. It's available to everyone, and I think it's been downloaded over 500 times, which is amazing to see. But these stages encompass 5 key steps. Let's start with ideation. Step 1. This is where product believes they've identified a solution or a problem in the market that can be solved with a technology solution. When we've accepted that we're going to move forward with that, and it's a good idea, we enter phase 2, which is build. This is where product has officially put this new capability on their roadmap. And in parallel, we've put it on our go-to-market roadmap as well. Product marketing is now working on messaging, on naming, where it sits in the product hierarchy, planning out beta groups, all while getting the go-to-market plan for this thing built. We then enter stage 3, which is soft launch or beta. There are a couple different names for it that I've seen in past lives, but basically what we do here is we work with a select group of customers to ensure that both functionality, like does it work the way it's supposed to, along with messaging, are we talking about it in a way that makes sense and resonates? We make sure that both of these things are aligned with market needs and expectations before we move into stage 4, which is go-to-market launch. And I think if you were to have a blind test of what most people associate with a product launch happening, it's probably stage 4, right? The keys are in the ignition, landing pages and press releases and emails are all out. Like we're now moving on this launch. We've enabled sales, all of that good stuff in stage 4. But it's really when we get to stage 5 where a lot of the real work begins, because now that we've entered go-to-market continued, this thing's up in space, but we need to start building an ecosystem of content and best practices and prescriptive playbooks for how to use this stuff, all to ensure that this capability is actually adopted and successfully used once it's been launched into the world. Up next, I think that this is a really important yet overlooked piece of our go-to-market process that I wanted to take a little bit of time today to call out. And it's the way that we at G2 produce and then refine our go-to-market messaging. So it all starts with a message house, so including the very real one that you see here up on the screen. And we at G2 build one of these for every single product, feature, integration, M&A, big and small, no matter what it is. There's always this sort of one doc Bible, if you will, that's going to help us define a number of things. For starters, what the heck is it? What is this capability? Who is it for? Where is it going to sit within our product hierarchy? How are we going to launch it tactically? And what's the value? And what we do in this doc is we also add in any sort of relevant data points, research that we can find on personas, and taglines that can ultimately help with direct response on those resources. This is something that I always want our product marketers getting into the habit of thinking of, which is, well, what is that message within this message house, if you will, that's going to get people to convert on whatever this story is that I'm launching in market? And so that message house is then actually taken and delivered to our creative and our copywriting team. And so what they do is they go through their own process of picking out the key points for our landing pages and our emails, if you will, to ensure that they actually convert. This is what they think about all the live long day. And so in order for messaging, your go-to-market messaging, to truly be successful, I would argue that you actually can't have one without the other. It's got to start with us as product marketers, and that the foundation needs to be built, the blueprint for whatever this thing is going to be within your message house, which is then handed over to copy so they can focus all of their energy on turning it into resources and messaging that is absolutely primed to convert. And so I always, when I get to this section, I like to give a shout out to our own head of copy at G2. His name is Eddie, and without his skills and brilliance and his collaboration, our campaigns just would not be as successful as they've been. And then finally, tactical launch management. This is also something that I think gets overlooked as well, because we're all just moving so fast. But for some perspective, at G2, we use Asana, and it has been in many ways product marketing's secret weapon for launching in such rapid and quick succession as we have. It's truly in its own way built perfectly for go-to-market planning. You can tag folks cross-functionally, and it provides total visibility on what's happening with any specific go-to-market project. And it's it's just great. I mean, we manage every single step of that 5-step process that you just saw all through Asana, and I couldn't recommend it more. And finally, let's talk about end-to-end business outcome tracking, because one of the most important pieces of our success in product marketing is actually making sure that we can report on it and measure it. And so let's consider living at the intersection and what that means in terms of supporting product, marketing, and sales. It's really hard to live at the intersection unless you're reporting success metrics from it. And this has, I think, often been a very gray area. And depending on the company you go to and the needs and the problems they're facing, the reports and the success metrics from product marketing can honestly be totally different. But at G2, we've tried to take a really comprehensive approach to the way that we measure our impact. And so we follow all of our programs religiously from end to end. And so this is going to include at the very top, top of funnel submissions and leads. And it spans into every opportunity across every stage of the life cycle that's been influenced by a program, by one of our touch points that we've launched. We then follow that again all the way through closed won, quite literally money in the bank from all of those deals that we've influenced and touched, and then all the way through to product adoption, which is, I think, something that a lot of companies do sometimes. They tend to stop at closed won. And as a result, we don't necessarily check to make sure these products are being utilized or how satisfied customers are. And so we track that all the way through to product adoption to make sure that those products are being used, they're being operationalized, and driving results for our customers. And then finally, we follow that one step further to customer renewals to ensure that those opportunities, which then turn into closed won, which then turned into products that have been adopted, are contributing to the long-term and recurring success of G2, the lifetime value of our customers, if you will. And you know what's really nice about this approach is that when it's done right, all of your stakeholders that you're working with as a product marketer come away really happy. Let's see, marketing is being supported in terms of reaching their lead goals. They're going to be really pumped about that. Sales is being fed better quality opportunities that are more likely to close, and so they're hitting their quotas and they're feeling really good about things too. This leads to more closed won and growth and money in the bank for the org. And so your executive team and board is going to be really happy about that. And then product is going to be really happy because the things that they're building are being adopted. And of course, CS and your relationship managers, your RM team, are going to be happy because all of that is resulting in like a bunch of happy customers who are using products successfully and who are renewing at higher clips. And so, you know, in my book, if product marketing we're not necessarily crushing it in our role unless we're helping all of our stakeholders crush theirs. And so that's really, for me, what life at the intersection truly means. All right. And so let's go through some final thoughts and then open it up to some questions. I would love to hear from you all, and I want to leave us a little bit of time to answer those live. And so let's talk about what we've learned along the way. For starters, when looking to build your own world-class go-to-market team, please, from the bottom of my heart, hire for balance. I know that everyone wants the best candidates, and I totally get it. And talent and brilliance, those are all really important things and lend themselves well to everything that we're doing. But also take it one step deeper and really look to hire the right candidates based on what you do really well and what your team already does really well. And by finding candidates with the skills and the talents to sort of fill in those gaps that you might have on your team, it's going to result in a really versatile and balanced team that helps each other grow and while not having duplicative roles and sort of skills within your team. Number two, I'll say it a million times, process is good. It's not going to slow anybody down. And I know it's startups, that's incredibly important. We all want to move fast, but it's going to ultimately help you launch faster and more effectively. And it's also going to drive some good cross-functional accountability because now every team at the intersection, all 3 points of that pyramid, product, marketing, and sales, are going to have skin in the game in order to ensure a successful go-to-market event. And then finally, number three, you're not truly living at the intersection unless you're reporting from it. And so please be sure that all 3 points of those pyramid are hitting their goals, so that you as a product marketer can feel really good about the impact that you're driving across your organization. All right, and that's what I've got as far as how we've built our go-to-market team at G2 and sort of the pieces and components that went into that. And so in the last about 5 minutes that we have left in this session, I wanted to take a look. I see some comments popping in here to see if there are some questions I can answer. So let's see, we can start at the top here. All right. So from Lawrence, when it comes to balancing your product marketing team, what kind of programs would you suggest for upskilling current team members if a new hire isn't a plausible option? Yeah, that's a great question. And my team today is me and 3 other product marketers. But when I started, it was just me and a product marketing specialist. And so we kind of had to start from scratch and had to cover a lot of ground. What I started to do in building out that blueprint was not only was I finding programs that we were launching at G2 that would fit into the toolkit or skill set of one of those personas that I just mentioned, but I found things outside of G2 to help send this person to. And so, for instance, the product marketing specialist that I joined at the time, who was at G2, was an evangelist through and through. She'd been at G2 for about 5 years. She knew the product and the personas better than anyone I knew there. She started in CS, moved into product marketing, and was really ingrained in sort of the core functionality of what G2 offered. Where we wanted to build her skills were within creative writing and storytelling. And so one of the things that we actually looked into were, for starters, what campaigns and GTM events would require a lot of in-person training, if you will, so that we could get her in front of more people so that she could start to exercise that muscle a little bit more. And then in addition to that, finding those sort of GTM campaigns that aligned really well to the skills we wanted to build out. We also looked at things outside of G2, like improv classes and creative writing classes that G2 was kind enough to sort of cover as part of employee development to try to build her skills within those areas too. And as a result, she's come such a long way as not just an evangelist, which she still is, but as a storyteller and as a presenter too. It's been amazing to watch. Let's see, we've got a question from Tanya. While balancing is important, what are the core skills you would say are a must for a product marketing team? Yeah, that's a good question. I think there are 5 core skills, and some of them are in here, but like at a baseline, in order to be a successful product marketer, for starters, you need to be a strong writer. So much of your job is going to be uncovering whatever that hook or that story is within the value story that you're trying to build. 2, you need to be a strong storyteller and an in-person trainer regardless. Even if it's a muscle that we're not always comfortable flexing, I think a lot of the success of our GTM activities are going to live and die with our ability to inspire confidence within the sales team. 3, I think you need, even if you're new and you don't necessarily know the product yet, you need a natural curiosity or inkling for how platforms work and how they integrate with each other. You have to be naturally interested in how technology works, along with how product roadmaps work as well. So you could really have a seat at the table when you're working with product managers. I think the last 2 are, for starters, you need to, at a baseline, understand how marketing programs work, even if you don't know the automation tools very well. Understanding titles, understanding segments, so that even off the top of your head, you can rip off sort of segments and approaches for campaigns. And I think the last one is understanding how a sales cycle works at a company. And again, these are things that are learned, but natural curiosity within product marketing and sales, along with really strong skills as far as being a writer and a core presenter, are going to bode well for anyone. And I think a lot of that is just gleaned from being a naturally curious person. The best product marketers I've seen don't necessarily come from product marketing. They come from sales or from CS. They spent time on the front lines. I came from CS myself, and every member of my product marketing team has come from either a customer success or from a sales role and transitioned in. And so having that exposure on the front lines as well bodes really well for product marketers. It's actually sort of an unwritten rule when I'm looking to build teams. I always look for people from non-traditional backgrounds who haven't spent their whole career in product marketing.
Tony, thank you for everyone for tuning in, and thank you for such good questions. And Yoni, do you have any sort of final remarks?
No, it's been such a pleasure. For all of you who were able to join me today, thank you so much. And I try to be pretty active on LinkedIn and within the PMA community. And I'm always around on a Friday afternoon to talk go-to-market blueprints and strategies and sort of connect with other like-minded product marketers. So please find me. Let's grab 30 minutes to catch up. And I would love to hear your questions and see how I can help and see how you can help me too.
Cheers, Yoni. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody.